Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Welcome to the show. My guest today is me. It's me again. And I want to speak with you about something that sounds kind of funny, but sometimes it's not very funny. I've said dancing with the enemy, and I will explain exactly what I mean by enemy and also dancing. So before we get started, I wonder if you are one of the 99% of people who love dancing. That's not a statistic, by the way. Don't look it up. I've not met many people who don't enjoy dancing. I don't mean ballroom dancing necessarily, perhaps going to a nightclub or just dancing to some music in your kitchen. That's dancing. Dancing, anyway, you get it. Or maybe you like watching dance. So I'm going to use that as a metaphor today. Someone I really, really admire, Tony Robbins, talks about dancing with your fears. And you may have seen him talk about it, or you may know about that concept. Dancing with your enemy is a similar concept, but it is very current because there's a lot of, let's just say, conflict, disagreement, many opportunities to argue and disagree with people nowadays, in person, online, lots of different ways. But that is the context. So I promised I would talk to you about enemies. You may have an actual enemy. When I say that word, can you think of somebody? Does somebody's face come into your mind? Because if you're having a major disagreement with someone, or a huge legal battle, a lawsuit where you're on different sides of the table, or a business disagreement, or an interpersonal one. So I don't want to get into too many details, but if you have been divorced and it's not been amicable, then perhaps you might consider the other party your enemy. Doesn't really matter who you're thinking of, or maybe you're not thinking of anyone, but multiple times per week, I'm confronted with values and views that differ from mine. Values and views that differ from mine. Now, before I really understood this thoughtful leadership stuff, I think I would have considered the person with the different values and views to be kind of like an enemy. Not really, not like getting divorced or having a huge litigation in business. But it's very difficult when you are confronted with someone like that. And let's face it, it's easier to have these arguments on social media, for example. It depends what kind of person you are and how you react. So the thoughtful leader, you've probably guessed already, the thoughtful leader is thoughtful. The thoughtful leader thinks before they engage in a dispute, discussion, disagreement, or argument online. And certainly if it's defamatory, if the other person is disrespecting you, your business, your family, your values, I don't believe that you would like to stoop to that level and do the same. But how do you approach it? Do you just ignore it? Do you do what Gandhi spoke about and turn the other cheek? It's hard. It's really hard. I think Jesus said it first. Turn the other cheek. Anyway, all enlightened people know that it's not smart to stoop to that level and engage in something that does not meet your highest values. But how do you respond? Can you just ignore it? If you ignore it outwardly and it's still stewing inside, then it's doing a lot of harm to you. They may not even know. I know I've spoken about the power of the UN before, unfollow, unfriend, unsubscribe, but that doesn't really fix the problem. So yes, you may need to unfollow or even block someone. You may need to do that, but this is how you resolve it for yourself. And then the truly enlightened, thoughtful leader can go into the metaphorical boxing ring and turn it into a professional, respectful discussion, or try to do that. I'm sure you have experiences of somebody doing you wrong, and you can still think of it. You can still remember a time when someone screwed you, right? They took advantage of you. They really didn't respect you. And you can still feel those feelings if you choose to. If you've managed the feelings, but you can still recall the incident, then I would say there's a little bit more work to do. So we're not going to do this psychology thing. We're not going to have you lie on the couch. No need for that. But I would like you to think about it for a moment and get under the hood or bonnet, as we say in the UK. Let's lift the bonnet or the hood of the car and let's figure out what's going on underneath. Was it something that really attacked your personal values? Probably. If even political things, you think, oh, it's just politics. But politics are a representation of people's views on important topics, really important topics, such as finances and wealth, relationships, health and wellness. No matter what you're discussing, it's never just politics. So really sit with what it is that you're feeling and thinking. And if it happened a long time ago and you can still recall this, then trust your instincts. You will come up with the right answer. If you can't think of anything, well, that's great news. Maybe you want to stop listening to this episode now, but I do have some fun stuff coming up, so you may want to continue. The purpose of this is to address the real issue. So, for example, in business, if you run a business, you'll appreciate this story. I've been running my business for 19 years. I would love to say 20, but I don't lie. I never lie. So next year I'll say 20, woo. So 19 years of carving out my own space, really creating a path, creating businesses, creating products and services, adjusting and amending and improving, hopefully, all the time. And I have worked with a lot of clients. So some of those clients in the past would sign up for a program and not pay, or not pay what they were meant to, or not pay when they were meant to. And in the early days, I guess I just was so excited to be building the business, and I was very trusting, maybe a bit naive. And so I would continue with the coaching program. And so in 5 cases over 19 years, which is not a lot, in 5 cases, it resulted in a bad debt. You know what a bad debt is, right? I'm talking to you as if we run the same business, but every business takes risks, or the business owner takes risks. A business can't take risks. And if you do it thoughtfully, then you might actually have a thought that goes something like this. Okay, if they don't pay, if it turns into a bad debt, that's just part of doing business. Well, of course, you're never thinking that at the beginning. Never. So it can create a lot of animosity, especially if you run in the business circles like I do, where you keep bumping into people, and you not only bump into the person who did it to you, you bump into people who know them. And sometimes you have to pose for photos, because you know what it's like nowadays with the selfies, and you've got that smile plastered on your face, and inside you're seething because you know they still owe you money. We won't get into the money. This is just one example. Of course, you could bring in a debt collection agency. I have a few friends, by the way, who do this. If you are in a serious situation and you want to go after that money. But we're not really talking about that. We're talking about the effect it has on your physical and mental health and how you appear outwardly, because I'm not sure that any of us can put on a mask, a facade, and keep it in place and fool everybody all the time. I've seen a few photos of myself recently, and I can tell where I'm forcing a smile for whatever reason. It's not all because of these kinds of things. Sometimes I'm just tired. Sometimes, the camera appears in my face before I'm ready, whatever. And I see the fake smile and I think, oh no, I want to see a real smile. And I would like to see real smiles if people are going to smile for the camera. And I'd like to see you smiling. So now we're talking about smiling. Let's move to dancing, because I did promise you some fun stuff. So if you've had an altercation with a business colleague, a client, a supplier, a spouse or partner, one of your kids, one of your friends, whoever, you can still turn it around. You can turn it around for yourself very easily. There's a lot of forgiveness work that you can do if you choose to, knowing that forgiveness, according to all the clever people, the monks, the inspirational writers, everybody agrees it will do you a lot of good to forgive. You don't even have to let the other person know that you've forgiven them. They might not even still be here on this earth. We don't know. So what I would say is decide. This is what the thoughtful leader does all the time. Is there something that is still winding you up, still making you annoyed after all these months or years? Is it time to let it go? And you're not conceding, you're not rolling over and playing dead. You're not the victim. In fact, you're the victor, because you will have conquered those feelings and memories and all of the emotions that are stirring things up for you in your mind and in your body. When I finally let one of those bad debts go, and I just did it for myself, I wasn't even in touch with the person. It had gone on for far too long. I had had nightmares. I actually woke up in the night after dreaming about that person. They were taking up space in my head. I let it go. I chose to let it go. It took some effort and some reading, but it was such a relief. I didn't have to think about them anymore. Every now and then, when the thought would come up, I would do what we do in meditation and just let that drift away. Just the thought comes in, the thought comes out, doesn't turn into anything emotional or physical. So that's something that you can do. Now, the dancing bit, I think if you picture yourself dancing either in a nightclub or with a partner or even in the mirror, just make sure there's another person there, even if it's you in the mirror. You can do this in the moment. You can do this to actually avoid falling into that situation where you're really going to have it drag out and maybe words that are regretted on either side. You can deal with this at the time that it's happening. It requires more thought, as you might have guessed. But if you picture yourself dancing elegantly, gracefully, and I know people who do this. I know people who dance for a living. My son is one. His girlfriend is another. And all his past and current colleagues are others. I watch them. And that's a really great metaphor image because, it's very powerful, even if it's not a strong, fast-paced dance. Using your body in that way is very powerful. So what you can do is bring this into your mind, an image of yourself dancing, smiling. So don't forget the smiling as well. And imagine that you're able to elegantly and gracefully respond. So if the other person is leading, let's continue with the dance metaphor. The other person is leading with their antagonistic language, with their provocative comment with their sometimes very rude and disrespectful post. You respond. They're the leader, you follow. And this is not a knee-jerk reaction. You don't want to do too much knee-jerking when you're dancing, or you might hurt the other person. That just came to me right now. It's a bit silly, but a bit fun as well. I think the better thing to do would be to really focus with that intention that we've spoken about so many times. Bring that intention and attention to the particular issue and how you would like to respond, how you would like to be seen responding, how you would like to feel proud of yourself, not seething with resentment, thinking clearly, knowing that you have actually acted in a respectful way. I know I've spoken before about meeting disrespect with respect, and that's really important. You're not stooping to that level. This is a choice that you have. So what are you going to do? You're not going to respond immediately. If you do meditation or prayer or both, that's what you can engage in. Get yourself away to a space and create time, carve out time, turn off your phone, and don't just blank your mind out. Do that, relax first, and then focus your attention and create the intention to dance with this other person and their views. I did this the other day, and this is why it's fresh in my mind. It was somebody who I had a lot in common with. We were having a fantastic conversation, and then they mentioned something that was totally against my values. And because I've been practicing this, I took a breath, I took a pause, I continued smiling. That really helps, because you cannot be angry, full of rage, and smiling, I've found. You want to harness that, harness the high frequencies, the high emotions, and figure out what you can say. So I asked a question, and I shared my views in this quite thoughtful way that I have, this reasonably slow-paced way I have of talking. It gives me a little bit more time. So that's another tip for you. If you are someone who always speaks fast, try slowing down. You don't have to speak at my pace. This is my choice. I speak to many people who are not native English speakers. My choice, how I speak. I don't think anyone's ever told me it's boring. People have told me that it's soothing, and I hope it doesn't put them to sleep. But it gives me time to think and to respond. Obviously, I couldn't say to her, just stay there for a moment while I go meditate. I didn't have time to do that. But I chose my words carefully. I chose how I was going to respond. I chose not to engage in an argument or a battle, but to share how her words had affected me, my views on something that's very important to me. And for the sake of confidentiality, I'm not going to tell you who it was for sure. And I'm not even going to tell you what it was, because it doesn't matter. As I said before, we get opportunities every single week, probably every day, to practice this. If you see it as a dance, so I've been practicing sitting very still. Of course, if you're only listening to the audio, you won't appreciate it that much. But I've been having some coaching, and I do move around a lot. So I've purposely not moved. And now I'm purposely moving and dancing with you, my viewer, my listener, because it's fun. So access that, access the part of you who wants to have fun, the part of you who really is thoughtful and elegant, graceful, and able to deal with whatever comes up in an elegant, thoughtful, and graceful way. So on that note, I wish you an amazing, amazing day ahead, week ahead, month and year ahead, decades of practicing this. Because will you get it right first time? No. And not because you're going to get it wrong. It's really because there is no right. If If you have the right intention, then you just want to keep practicing. You will get better. You will become more aware, more mindful of your words, your behavior. It's so rewarding for you and the other people around you as we bring more people into our sphere of thoughtful leaders. You're going to be leading the way. You already are leading the way. We just want to see more of this so that we can teach other people that this is another option. Dancing with the enemy, their thoughts, their ideas that just rub against your values. Dance anyway. So keep smiling, keep dancing, and we will speak again very soon. See you soon. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.